Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the annual Sample Manager User Conference. We've got a really exciting conference ahead. I'm going to start out by sharing the progress that we've made over the past year with Sample Manager and really provide a glimpse into our plans for the future of Sample Manager as well. We're going to hear from some of our folks on the product team, Lance and Andrew, and most excitingly, hearing directly from some of our users on how they've implemented and are using Sample Manager. Lastly, I'll finish up with a session on how to track experiments within Sample Manager and have more of that interactive training session. So before we get started, some logistics things. You'll see this in the chat as well. This conference is going to be recorded and you're going to receive these recordings via email afterwards. So no worries if you have to hop off for an experiment or dinner or whatnot, it's no problem. And if you have any questions during any of our presentations today, please make sure to put them in the Q&A or the chat. And we'll make sure to get those addressed either during the conference or afterwards, sort of depending on time today. So with that, I'll jump into the Sample Manager product update. For those of you who may not know me, I'm Hannah Brakke, the Director of Product Management here at LabKey and the Product Manager for Sample Manager. I really want to start out by sharing some of our stats from the past year. Sample Manager has experienced another year of significant growth. And we've seen a surge in user engagement as well as sort of our overall sample numbers. As well as adoption of advanced features like workflow and our electronic laboratory notebook. We were able to deliver over 200 feature enhancements, which really is reflecting of our commitment to providing a continuously improving product. For those of you who are new to the conference, it's really important to us to make sure we talk about why we're doing this every year. And the primary goal, of course, is to educate and empower our new and existing Sample Manager users. We also hope this event serves as a platform to share insights, best practices, and really helps continue to foster that amazing Sample Manager community. As product manager, I also love to share our roadmap. This really helps folks understand where we're going and how our product may align and continue to support your growing and ever-changing needs in the lab. The user conference also serves as a great opportunity for you to share your product feedback with us, both on current functionality, but also a place to provide feedback on where we're going as well. And with that, I really just wanted to quickly share and sort of remind folks on how new features are getting developed here at LabKey. We heavily weigh user feedback when we consider new work. So as you're using the product and as you think of things or have certain pain points or new ideas of trying to expand your use of the product, we take that into very serious consideration and fill that into sort of our backlog for new features. So ultimately, your feedback really helps us maintain the cycle of continuous improvement, which helps create this dynamic, adaptable product that's really fitting the needs of each lab. So I'm super excited to share kind of what we've been up to. Our focus for Sample Manager really continues to remain on three key pillars: enhancing data integrity to ensure sort of the most important information is getting captured in the way that you want, being able to streamline that sample traceability for that fully comprehensive understanding of what's happened to a sample and where it's been, and then, of course, ensuring sort of flexibility to make sure that we're accommodating the diverse needs of each lab. And as I mentioned, we delivered a lot of feature enhancements last year, but I'm going to focus on a few examples of each of these in sort of those key areas. So for data integrity, easing that registration process by making sure that samples are getting registered with the right lineage by including those source and sample parent fields kind of by default. Making sure that we've added sort of the ability to move items between projects, which helps groups more accurately reflect where those items should be kind of in sort of the organizational components of the lab. increasing that depth and richness of our sample traceability by including the ability to add source lineage. So something like adding patients to a study or mice to a client, things like that. We've also sort of continued to enhance the process around adding samples to storage. So it's much easier for you to add them in and make sure that you know where those samples are at any given time. And on our flexibility pillar, we've really sort of helped declutter teams' views by being able to customize what data is viewable in projects, and also even which sample types show up on the dashboard is something that we've done even earlier in 2024. And making sure that really you have the flexibility you need for workflow jobs and that experiment tracking, making sure that assays can be editable when needed, that allows people to sort of request tests from the same template, or being able to scale the number of tests performed on a sample down based on that sample availability as well. So looking ahead into 2024, our focus remains sort of largely the same here. We want to continue to strengthen that data integrity piece by enabling comments during data updates, requiring those comments to support sort of compliance for more regulated labs, and introducing new data field options such as a date only or a time only field to sort of capture those specific requirements. We're also making enhancements in sample traceability that will continue to sort of work on the storage functionality. We've also heard from several folks that samples might have a more common name or a name from an external lab that's worth sort of bringing more into view. So our plans here include kind of adding a sample alias option for that easier sample identification as well. And another thing kind of directly from your suggestions, we're going to be adding sort of customizable colors from our sample statuses, and also the ability to add custom fields on projects, kind of furthering that flexibility and customization of the product for each lab. And so as promised, we definitely want your input here. So we're going to start a quick poll to help us learn which features you might be most excited about coming in 2024. And definitely if there's something else that you're sort of hoping for, add that in the chat, and definitely reach out, and happy to discuss that further. So another thing to talk about, even though this is sort of like a feature, it doesn't fall kind of within those three pillars. We've also introduced sort of a new feature this year that really helps better communicate to all of our users when an update has occurred and what that new functionality is as part of the update. So you can sort of see this here, that this banner has been new in the last few months. You've probably already interacted with this, or maybe dismissed it, but generally, you know, wanting to make sure that you're aware and your lab is aware of the new features and functionality that are coming out that might be able to sort of improve your processes within the lab. And then, of course, if you need it at any time, we've also added this permanent link to the release notes within the application as well, to really help people understand the functionality that's come out. So as many of you know, Sample Manager is part of a larger product suite here at LabKey. And really the idea is that we want to support labs as they continue to grow on their digital data journey. So really starting out with that foundation of sort of fundamental sample management, like storage management and tracking, into more advanced experiment tracking components like workflow and assay, and then really sort of bringing it into a LIMS to be able to enable efficiency gains through automation and centralization. And so I'm super excited to announce the start of our development of our LabKey LIMS for 2024. For many of you, this may be a little bit confusing. You might say LabKey already has a LIMS, or LabKey or Sample Manager is our LIMS. These are all totally valid comments. If you look at Wiki's definition of a laboratory information management system, it's basically a software that helps labs do work. So it's such a general definition that we do find that folks are already referring to Sample Manager as a LIMS. But while Sample Manager has been sort of instrumental in supporting these lab operations, our goal with the lab key LIMS is really to help elevate lab efficiency and automation even further. And what that really kind of boils down to, at least at the moment, is the automation of workflow based on business or laboratory logic rather than kind of relying on those manual tasks. Being able to better integrate with instrument data, again, sort of attempting to remove those manual steps out of that data ingestion process, creating more opportunities for visualizations and advanced reporting within the product to help sort of centralize all of the data, as well as sort of broader lab management functionality like equipment and SOP management. So your feedback, again, is super crucial in shaping this initiative. I really invite you to share your thoughts with us, ideas, questions, as we continue to work on this lab key LIMS. Feel free to email me, schedule some time, or even post some questions now in sort of the Q&A. And all of that is really going to help us create sort of this great LIMS product that we're aiming for. And so I'm happy to take any questions now. I'll sort of read through those. I'm going to take a look at the poll as well. But while we're sort of asking some questions, I really just want to share kind of my sincere gratitude for all of our clients and users. I'm so privileged to be in this role that really allows me to combine my passion for science and scientific advancement with a really innovative product that I'm super, super proud of. So thank you guys so much for being here. I'm super excited about the conference today. I'm gonna take a look at the questions and the poll, but feel free to keep adding things in the chat and Q&A. So it looks like from the poll, most folks are really excited about sort of storage enhancements and those sample alias fields. That's really exciting. These are certainly kind of on the short term for 2024 as well. We're going to hear from Andrew a bit later too on how we can continue to sort of enhance some of that functionality. So really exciting to see that, and I'll kind of look through the chat here. And yes, and so when do we get the LIMS? So we are working on sort of the scheduling of this, but I'm gonna guess sort of the initial launch of LIMS will be sometime this summer, and we will have a lot of communication about that as well. So you're not going to miss out. And again, sort of continue to build and shape it sort of throughout the rest of this year as well. And yeah, do you expect an easy path to move from Sample Manager to LIMS? Yes, absolutely. So much like sort of the progress that folks will have from Sample Manager Starter to Sample Manager Professional, it will be effectively sort of the click of a button to be able to upgrade into our lab key LIMS. And so we're not planning any sort of migration of data for any folks. It's really going to be sort of the product that you're already using and sort of just the upgrade into the LIMS product, which will be way better for lab folks, you know, not having to undergo those efforts. LIMS often takes a lot of time for implementation, and our goal is to continue to focus on sort of that ease of use and ease of implementation as well.